Welcome, everyone. I have a phenomenal family with us. You actually have met Whitney before. She was a mom who shared with us her excitement that, she was expecting, she and her husband were expecting a baby through the surrogacy in Ukraine. And we promised that we're going to come back once the baby is born. And, I know you could see like a little hand there. So the baby is here. And yes, hello, sweetie. And yes. He's so calm right now, best guest ever. And so guys, if you ever wondering, how does it feel, to meet your baby finally after the surrogacy journey and, how the process was, what it means to do surrogacy internationally. Yes. And what it means settling back with the baby and how's the first week is going. So, stay with us. I promise you the family that we're going to be as short as possible because parents of the newborn hopefully we'll be down to like 15 minutes or so. But you definitely don't want to miss what they have to share with us. So, guys, hello. Hi, Whitney. Hi, Hugh.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us. Yes. So, all right. Well, let's start. How do you feel?
I feel pretty excited. It's been almost 2 weeks now, which is pretty wild that we've been into it that long. I feel like the first moments we walked up and we were sort of being led towards where a baby was, but we didn't know that it was our baby. And
And we saw the baby and we said, "Is that our baby?" And then Ivana said, "Is that the baby? That's your
that's your
baby."
baby. And we were like, what?
They were literally just clamping the cord and checking, measuring the, his length and weight and stuff like that.
So that just felt like, really? Like, we were so excited and overwhelmed, and it was really surreal. And now I feel like we're getting into the swing of things a little bit and learning. We were worried because he wasn't pooping a lot. Now he's pooping a lot. And, all these little things as new parents that you're trying to figure out. And we have so much more to learn, but we've learned a lot in the last couple of weeks. And yeah, it's been really nice. And
Yeah.
tiring and all the things.
Oh my goodness. So, it's funny how, we hear, once parents become parents, that a lot of our conversations go about poop and sleep and all of that. And you're like, hi, I'm still going to have life. I'm still going to be professional. And right. But, it is like you seeing it right now, this little bundle have you around his finger. Yes. And those, when he sleeps, you sleep. When, he's happy, you happy. So anyway. Oh my goodness. So let's talk about just logistics, maybe. So you said you came to the hospital, how did it feel? How were you treated as, the parents of surrogacy? Yes, just talk because especially like we said, it's not done, you're from America, it was not done in America. And many people have worry, right? Like, would I be like looked up, down or like just walk us through.
Yeah, no, I think we were welcomed right away. It helped that Ivana was there the whole time and sort
And
of guided us.
someone doesn't know, like if it's Ivan, that probably many people
The
don't know who the
coordinator, yeah,
coordinator.
yeah, the coordinator was there, and we saw the baby, which was amazing, and it never felt like anyone looked at us like we weren't the parents. They immediately took us back to a room and said, "We want you to do skin to skin time," which felt a little bit weird to us because it like especially later when we look at the pictures it's like and it almost feels like we're trying to make it look like I had the baby and I didn't and we're very transparent about that, but that time is also really special and we know good for the immune system and so they were very very much like this is what's going to happen, here's how you do it, yes you do need to take off your shirt, like all of the little steps that we had never done before and had no idea how it worked. And
Mhm.
they provided us this room for, they said 4 hours, and they let us stay even longer than that. And we got to come back each day for about 4 hours each day to see him until he was released from the hospital. We didn't realize at first that he wouldn't be released until the surrogate was released, just based
Mhm.
on the law here. But that almost was kind of nice because it eased us into figuring out how to take care of him. We would
Mhm.
go for a few hours and then we'd have professionals who we very much trusted to take care of him the rest of the time.
But
So,
correct me if I'm wrong, we went the same day to the civil registry office
yes.
Mhm. Mhm.
and got the birth certificate.
It was so fast.
Yes.
So it was just like immediate.
He was born on a Friday, and then by that afternoon, we had the birth certificate done.
And an
Yes.
appointment at the embassy as well for the following week.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for mentioning that. So we really try to do things as fast as possible. Yes. And well, first of all, you are in Ukraine. Yes. And yes, military operation, the war is happening. And, we definitely want everyone to feel safe. And I know like when you are there and you guys actually, you said 2 weeks, but you're staying longer than other parents. You made that decision because, your documents were received, I think already several days ago, and you still staying because you said you feel in love with it. So talk us through as well, because obviously you're not rushing. You're not feeling like, oh my God, like, panic, let's go.
Yeah. It helps that the birth is in a very safe part of the country.
Mhm.
Uh, so, we feel quite safe here. I've spent a lot of time here. Hugh has been here before. So that helps too, to already know that this is just a place that we love very deeply. Our block that we're staying on, there's a butcher and a place to get vegetables and a diaper, like multiple diaper stores. At the end of the block, there's a mall with a supermarket and a big children's store. And, the accessibility to all of the things that are here and life sort of buzzing normally makes
We thought about going to Poland sooner because we had the passport last Wednesday.
Okay.
And it's what, Wednesday?
Yes, we've been
So we've
here.
had the passport for a week, and we just looked at the apartments in Krakow, and it's a nice city and all, but we're not going to be out much. And the
Mhm.
apartments were more expensive, and everything seemed less convenient. And we just decided to stay here a little bit longer until he's old enough to maybe fly.
Yeah, we felt like looking online, it seemed like he shouldn't fly until 2 weeks. I don't know what the official guidance is, but that's what we decided. So we were like, we might as well wait the 2 weeks here and then, leave after that. So, and we would probably stay longer if we could.
Guys, I'm looking at you. You're pros. You're pros. You're parents. You're talking as parents. You're doing everything as parents. And I love how calm and you're like, okay, we're dealing with things and we're learning as we go. Going back to the hospital, just did you get any training from, as a brand new parents? Did you feel like walk us through like what information was given to you to where did you feel prepared and equipped to walk out of the hospital? How did it work?
One thing that started it off was that we did only spend about 6 hours with the baby each day for the first 3 days. And then we would go home and sort of just let it sink in a little bit. And also while we're there, we're feeding, we're changing, we're doing everything. But then it's not like we're doing it all night. So we
Mhm.
had a little bit of a break in. And then when he came home, then we were sort of ready to go a little more full speed.
But at the hospital, the coordinator was giving us a lot of tips of, here's how you can take care of him this way and that way. And the nurse was showing us, here's how you feed him. And yeah, there were a lot of little tips that they were giving us along the way of different ways to take care of him properly. So that was really helpful.
Okay, okay. And guys, you mentioning that you were having visitations and you came, obviously, so there was birth and you already were there. Now, a lot of our families, they don't come to Ukraine until the discharge from the hospital. And again, this is just, everyone feels different level of comfort being in the country longer versus shorter. So obviously, like you could see that both ways works. You can come and you could have visitation with your baby, and then like Whitney and Hugh have shared, discharge from the hospital is typically the third day. And that's when the steps could be done, or you could be earlier, and this is up to you. All right, so you got discharged, and then how was your first night together? Already full time, already like not breaking.
Do you know the story?
I know, but
It,
you tell.
Okay, well, it actually was the first time, I believe, this year that there was active bombing, and the baby went down to the shelter at the hospital, and we went down to the shelter in the parking garage. And that's the only night we've been down. But of course, it was his first night in the world, so a little rough. And that's what made us think we were going to leave early. Immediately we can't have the baby down in the shelter. That's crazy. But it just doesn't happen that often here in Lviv. And things change.
Say the name of the
Yeah.
city.
Sorry. It's a pretty safe part of the country where we are.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, well, thank you for saying. And guys, yes, things happen, right? And I know that before you were going, we were always instructing you. So when you're on the ground, do watch for alerts. You probably noticed that when you were in a shelter, it was not like many, many people. Ukrainian people do tend, they said life moves on. We kind of got used to it. We're noticing that not everyone comes to the shelters, but for any families, we do say like when there is an air raid, please abide by the rules, go to the shelters and so forth. How was the shelter easily accessible for you? Um,
So there's a shelter in the parking garage of our apartment building. So we just go downstairs and go right outside the door, and it's right there. And for me, having spent a lot of time here, I have a pretty good sense of when to go to the shelter and when not to. And I think for people who are newer in the space, like for
Well, you also have access to Telegram channels where you get a little more detail.
yeah, there are
So
ways.
there's a lot of broad alerts that say, a MiG entered over Donetsk. They have missiles that could go anywhere. So
mhm,
the whole country gets an alert. But that's different than actually coming to where we are.
yeah,
And so we actually heard real bombing that night, and that was certainly, her signal that, oh yeah, we're going down now.
yeah,
But that where we are living right now, that's incredibly rare. It's only happened the one time in the
many,
over
many
2 weeks
months. Yeah,
that we've and in many months, but over 2 weeks that we've been here. I think the only time this year in the place that we're at. So,
As far as we can tell, yeah.
so statistically, it's very unlikely that anything would happen. And we could hear activity, so we went underground, and there were probably like 20, 25 people who were underground with us. Um, and we stayed for a few hours and we came up. This is the night that he was still in the hospital. So that was
mhm,
quite nerve-wracking because he's across town and we don't know.
The
mhm,
extent of the bombing or anything. So,
Yeah, but
but we
well,
went down, I think about 3:30, and we came up about 5. We were only there for an hour and a half. It's
yeah,
starting to get light here in the summer. It's light here a lot. So there's not much darkness for the bomb time. I
mhm,
think I think the drones get shot down if it's daytime, so they only get sent over at nighttime.
yeah, the biggest concerns are always at night. But her question was about our first night at home with him.
But with him,
Yeah.
yeah.
part,
Well,
no, but it's still big part of your reality. And I think, because I mean, today specifically, like we're not just talking about surrogacy in general, but you're doing it surrogacy internationally, and you chose a country that, has a reality of, so I think it's totally good that you brought it up and you said that our night back home was, yes, different. So tell us now together, when you were already, he was not in the hospital. And by the way, guys, for the hospital, as you guys in the shelter, there is procedures where, yes, everyone goes in the shelter, so you don't need to worry about that as
yeah.
well. Yeah, but now that you were discharged from the hospital, you you got chance to get eased. So yes, how was it?
Yeah.
Well, it's you're up a lot because if the baby settles immediately and goes out to sleep, you might still sit there and watch the baby just
You get up
because
and you're like, is he still
you
breathing
check because
after
they're very
that?
peaceful. He's very peaceful, and you check if he's breathing, and he's fine. We've learned that he's fine,
Or he'll
but
make a bunch of
but
noises.
sometimes you make noises, and then I'm turning on the light, and then she can't sleep, and then we're trying to take turns, but we're both up. So we got very tired in the first few days. We really got very tired in the first few days.
Yeah,
I,
especially the first night because he turned on the light probably 20 times, and I'm like,
she doesn't sleep well with the light on, so I just kept checking on him, and he was right on my side of the bed, and um, but yeah, so there's a lot of fascination with the baby, right? When the baby's so new, and then there's sounds you're not familiar with, you don't know what's good and what's bad, you don't have a lot of reference,
Mhm.
so you build that very quickly
and
over time.
then we started to split it up a little bit so that we would try to do it where one of us would take one of the feedings and then one take the next one, and actually I think it was the next night one of us just stayed out on the couch and we have a little travel bassinet, we put it by the couch, and that way the other person could sleep during that time. But then we also got the help of a night nurse for a few nights,
Oh,
which
good.
we would never be able to afford at home. And that's one of the amazing things about, at least for us being, from the US and coming here where the cost of living is a bit different, which is, why we're doing surrogacy and
Yes.
you begin with, um, is that something like a night nurse is within financial reach for us, and it would never be.
Yeah, so the last 3 nights we've had lovely woman from the hospital, nurse, come and just spend the night with the baby and feed him and make sure everything's good and allow us to really sleep solidly. And, we know that this is going to come to an end.
But
But
it's important. It's so important. You go, God, especially, like you're not at your home right now, right? You don't have your routine. You don't have also, your support system that you have. And, so I think it's wonderful that you set that step up,
I think that's a really good point. Like if we were at home, we would have relatives coming to help at least during the day, even if they're not staying up at night with us. And we don't have that
No.
here. So
Yeah.
it helps have that different kind of support available to us here.
Yes. Well, another question that families are asking, because I mean, when you deal with surrogacy, majority of the families, they're not the youngest. Okay. We just have to, like, I mean, it's just time-wise, right? That's the reality. We are where we are. Is it true that also, I mean, your body does need more sleep? Do you feel like the adjustment, part of it is also just, just the time of our life. And it's okay. I think, I guess what I'm trying to say is for all of the parents that are listening, that are saying, gosh, like, am I too crazy for being so tired or wanting to have help? Am I like not a good parent because I've been going for this for so long? I want them to hear and say, no, it's okay. And yes, we're tired. And yes, we have our habits, light and our routine. So
I've heard more than one recent parent or new parent say, "What would I be doing if I had a nurse here?" And that's one attitude, that they feel committed and like it has to be them. And yeah, we really value our sleep. We really want to see what we can do to get this baby sleeping through the night as soon as possible.
We've read so many books.
We've read many books on the topic, so it's a focus for
Sleep
us.
training is a priority.
But no, look, I think having help, also having the baby stay in the hospital for a couple of days, made
yeah.
us realize that he's well taken care of.
Hmm.
It does, I mean, maybe better taken care of.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
So they know they're
more than
doing
we do.
better. So we had an interesting conversation with the nurse when she first came over, because it was like, this is what we do, but we don't think we're right. We want you to tell us, or maybe we can learn from each other or whatever about this baby and what this baby needs.
And I also believe we're going to be better parents if we are refreshed during the day. We will do a better job at it and we'll learn more quickly. And, all of it will work more seamlessly if we're well rested. So I'm happy to take the help. I have no shame.
Good for you guys. What about language barrier? Did you experience any? Because parents are asking us, will your coordinator be with us all the time? And physically it's not possible, right? I mean, there are many surrogates, many families, and even if we had attached coordinator to you, I don't think it's it's a well spent budget and everything, So
Amen.
like you're saying, we talk to the nurse, and then we have all the stores we're going to. Like, talk us through
Well,
that.
a lot of this is talking to people that don't speak English. I go into stores, shops, and I say, "Do you speak any English?" And they might say a little or no or whatever. We have amazing tools. I mean, translate apps. We can put a camera on a menu and it will translate the menu for us just from reading it. We
Mhm.
can speak into it and then they speak into it and we can have a conversation. So we really haven't, I mean, it slows things down just a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like so the night nurse barely speaks any English and I only know a few Ukrainian words. So we've been talking every night over the translator app and I feel like we've become friends a little bit. Like I know about her kids and her pets and she knows about ours and just lots of little details about our lives have come across and we're talking through an app and
It can actually be music. Sometimes it translates poorly and that's kind of fun too.
yeah, you're like, oh, I'm not that word.
Yeah, no, I think at one point it said, "Is your baby in the Air Force?" And I said, "I don't think this translated properly. You want to try one more time?"
Yeah, not yet. This is so
And a
funny.
lot of people do speak English, so it's really quite easy
Okay.
overall.
Okay. Let's talk about logistics now. So you got the birth certificate pretty fast. Yes, everything was organized. Oh, well, instead of me saying, talk through that. And then let's talk about how was it at the embassy and the process with the passport.
Yeah, it was all super fast. So, like we said, he was born on Friday, got his birth certificate Friday afternoon, and we had our appointment at the embassy the following Wednesday.
He was discharged from the hospital Monday,
Yeah.
and then on Tuesday night we went on the train to the embassy, and that's an overnight train, first trip with the baby, and it was interesting, but he did great. He really did great. He slept perfectly through it, didn't he?
Yeah, I think the motion is really nice
Yes.
for the baby.
That's one of the nice things. You put the baby in the stroller or you put the baby on a train and he's going to sleep well. So yeah, we went into the embassy and I think weren't we in and out of there in like an hour and a half, 2 hours?
It was really quick.
It was
Yeah.
really quick. We did have to come back and pick the printed passport up. So they issue you an emergency passport.
Hmm.
Uh, so that has to be renewed within a year, but we got
I
that.
think the hardest part was he had to have a diaper change, and it was like early on, he wasn't, like we said, pooping a lot. And turns out he pooped at the embassy, and
Oh, it's always so timely. Good
and
job.
They don't have a changing
they
table.
changing
Oh
tables.
no.
So
Every newborn that's American has to come through there, and there's no changing table. So one
Oh,
recommendation is the U.S. Embassy can get a changing table.
yes, that was our biggest challenge throughout the whole passport process.
right.
But
And you cannot bring many things as you either. Like you cannot bring your stroller, your right. Like, I think that's what makes it also a little bit.
We
we,
brought this.
we
They
can
let us bring the
Oh,
stroller
they
in.
did. Okay.
Yeah, they
Okay.
did do that,
no cell phone,
but no
no.
cell phone. So yeah, that was the only time modern humans are without their cell phone is when
We're
something
just
like
like
that
sitting
is.
there for an hour, like, okay, what do we?
What do we do for an hour? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But no, we got out of there and our train. I went back at 2 p.m. and I got the printed passport,
Mhm.
and then we were set to go. We had a train in the evening, in the afternoon, and Whitney has some friends from her previous visits, and we were able to check in with them and just very quickly say hi and
It was really nice because we went to a friend's apartment and we were
we
able
could
to.
wash the bottles and we could
Yeah.
change the
I
diaper.
think if we didn't have friends there, I would recommend getting a hotel room for the day.
Yeah,
Just
yeah. When we're planning, logistics, right? This is one of recommendation we're saying, and there is, many hotels, including close to the train station that could be very comfortable. On a train, or you getting on a train, and I know you guys are different because you travel quite a lot in Europe and everywhere. Not every family that comes to us have been world traveler. Anything like any tips or anything that you felt like was different? I feel like, one of the family was mentioning like there is not as many ramps.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
you can.
No, a
Right?
lot of the train stations don't have. So you're carrying everything up steps when you get off the train, when you get on the train, when you leave the station. Um,
Yeah, so don't bring too much stuff. Like when we leave the country, we're going to take a car instead of the train.
just to avoid that, because loading everything into a train would be hard.
We took the train in, which was fine because we didn't have the baby, but now that we do, I
Yeah.
think it would be too difficult. So just plan ahead on that.
But the thing that made it doable was really having a compartment to ourselves,
Yep.
with two beds and room to put the baby down and sort of have nobody bothering us and feel safe and yeah, and our coordinator made all those arrangements and it was great.
And one thing to think about is we had to count the number of feeds that we would have and bring that number of bottles.
Oh, we found that to be, yeah, that was like a logistical challenge, was to have enough bottles that if we couldn't wash the bottles, we could still make up the food for 24 hours or 30 hours. Because
Okay.
we left just before midnight and we came back at about 4 a.m.
But
So the next
the
day.
next day, yeah.
Yeah, so it was like 28 hours or 30 hours. And but because we were able to wash some bottles, we were totally fine.
Yeah. And we also use the pre-made
Pre-mixed formula. Yeah.
That
Okay.
was cool. But just in case, we brought a thermos full of
Boiled water.
water that had been cooled down a little bit already,
Mhm.
and some powder
Yeah.
formula.
So I think we did both, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, he got a little bit gassy and we decided that switching formulas maybe was helping that, causing that.
Yeah,
But
absolutely could be. Yes.
we just went back to, once we got back here, we just went back to the powdered only.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, sweetheart.
You can see him.
Yes, yes, yes. I see him. He's amazing. Oh my God. Bundle of joy. I mean, it never gets old. I keep telling parents because I keep hearing it from parents that the moment you saw him, I know your journey was different and well, every journey is different, but you had so many intricacies and so forth. But the parents could continue telling us that the moment you see, or look in the eyes, you're like, this is my baby, meaning like in my heart, I knew like you were supposed to be ours and we're yours. Do you have this feeling, or am I making it up?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. I mean, it takes a minute to get used to this.
Yes.
But we certainly give him so much attention that it's clear that like we're 100% sold on this. It's just fascinating.
It was very much like you're mine, but then it's like, are you mine? You know, like you
I
kind of go back.
Well, I wonder if being pregnant would make you think it was more real or something, but
Well, I think because I wasn't, and because we weren't like in the room for the actual birth, you know, lots of
Yes.
things that didn't happen to my body, and that makes it a little bit like, are we sure? But then you're like, yes, of course, this is my child, and love him so much, and all of that. It's
Well,
it's not a like simple just one feeling.
okay, but it's also good to hear, because again, families could be coming and feeling like, I'm not immediately feeling like all of that, and having, my body reaction and everything. All of those steps are so normal. Yes, another thing that I really, oh, well, by the way, well, I had my babies myself, right? But I need to tell you, the first time I look at my baby, I'm like, who are you? And what do I do with you? Because, suddenly you realizing there is like a human. And well, at least I had a panic. I'm like, I have no idea what to do with you. Like, right? Like you're so precious and fragile and everything. Like, oh. So it's okay to have our doubts and fears and joys and everything. Okay. So embassy, everything went well. Now I don't know. Sometimes parents are telling us like they see other families and the timelines of other families seem to be much slower than what experience of putting. Have you heard any of this feedback? And I know like a little bit, I'm like, tell us
oh
what
well,
great, but like what are your thoughts? Like, did you have point of reference to compare with? Because I know we do things fast, but how did it feel to you?
we had at least one point of comparison because we arrived and Whitney's on a text chain with some people, and there's a woman that was here with her baby, and she was Canadian, and her husband had to leave the country to go to Warsaw
Mm-hmm.
because the Canadians don't maintain an embassy.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he got there, they didn't give him the passport day after day after day after day. So it was like 2 or 3 weeks she was in Kiev and then moved east, um, sorry, west. And yeah, she was just absolutely frustrated. And believe it or not, while we were sitting in her apartment visiting with her, she got the phone call from her husband that she had gotten the passport and they could leave.
Yay.
But it
Okay.
was weeks. It was
Yeah, and I mean,
weeks.
I think that was more of a problem with
Diplomatic,
the
yeah.
bureaucracy of Canada. I would say, based on everything I've heard, that our situation moved much faster than the norm. I think there are some other folks that we've actually been able to meet because they live in Washington, D.C., and their process definitely took longer than ours. They're with a different agency.
Yeah.
They were here, I think, for about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks maybe after the birth. And that was just waiting on the passport to get done, and they're US citizens. So
Okay.
um, it's clear that the process worked much faster with
Yeah,
here.
no, I think I was thinking it would take Whitney was saying 1 to 2 weeks to get the appointment, and ours was like 4 days.
Yeah.
So,
Well, our and I don't want you to, guys, who are listening say, well, that's special for us. That's really the time. Like a lot of times, appointments would be even like within day or two from the moment you turn in your paperwork. So, we are so grateful. Did you feel like what about like the packet of the paperwork and everything?
That was
How
so
was it?
nice.
So you
yeah,
already had everything prepared ahead of time. And did embassy have many questions or?
The embassy, they
that was interesting actually because yeah, they had to verify that that Whitney is American, had lived in America and all that. So they were asking questions that sounded like banter, but they weren't banter.
Mhm.
And she actually identified because she had gone to the same university as the woman that worked at the embassy. And so they're
Oh,
very easy for them to just sort of prove out that she's a real, a real
yeah,
American, I guess.
just
right.
asking questions like, yeah, where did you go to school, and what town did you grow up in, and then asking questions like actual information that's on your document, like what's your mailing address,
Yeah,
you know?
tell us what you wrote down on this form. So
Yeah.
you're not just some shadow parent, fake parent.
But it was probably like a 20-minute conversation, and it felt very much like a conversation, like questions that we knew the answers to, all of them.
Yeah.
It was very straightforward.
Okay, wonderful. So, and while he's sleeping, and I promised you that it's going to be short, let us just, looking back, is there is anything that you would be like, okay, if we were to do, the process as far as, after the baby is born differently, or some things we learned, what would it be? Or anything about, just the whole journey. So anything you would like to share with the families?
I think there are a lot of tips, and I plan to write a bunch of these up. of just like all the little logistical things that you have to think through, like what do you need to bring to the country? Well, they have pretty much everything that you need in the stores here, so you don't actually need to bring a whole lot. Um, like a lot of the things are just very much taken care of for you. So
Yeah, we made a number of trips to, 2 blocks away to get diapers, but that's just so easy. It was like I got a 5-minute break to go outside and I get some diapers and I come back. So
Mhm.
anything we needed, we could always get. We haven't had any trouble with that. Everything from baby supplies to restaurants and beautiful scenery and
yeah, I think, doing whatever you can to prepare your documents ahead of time,
Yes.
that was helpful that Oksana reached out to us, like a couple of months before, and I
Yep.
was able to start gathering all of that. Because I heard some people saying like they were taking days to do their CBRA application, and it was like, oh, well, we've like pretty much done all that already.
Yeah.
Um,
Preparing
so,
ahead for sure. Yeah, very important.
but yeah, I mean, I feel like everything was pretty seamless overall. I don't know that we have.
yeah, one thing we learned is that they estimate your baby's size inside the womb by measuring the skull. And Whitney has a very large skull. And so they thought the baby was 10 pounds. But the baby was just under 8 pounds, very normal sized. But it was because it has what we call Shefte head.
Yeah. It's a
That's
condition.
so
Friends of mine.
that's so funny.
So we
So
didn't bring a lot of newborn clothes. And the first pack of diapers we bought was the next size up. And then when the baby was like, oops.
Yeah, but you walk down the block and there's a shop that has 100 pair of baby clothes. So like
Yeah.
you can get all the stuff here. Don't worry about overpacking stuff.
okay, so not overpacking for sure. You know what? Like we keep hearing all the time, and families keep asking us how much luggage to bring, and we keep saying bring as little, please, 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 just necessity. And people still tend to come with some big suitcase. So, like you said, like it's not convenient traveling. You're not going to be dragging them with you, and so forth. What about your family who is outside of Ukraine, who's back home? How they feeling for you? Are they nervous or they like they used to because you continue traveling? I just feel like, when you're in Ukraine, I know over and over we're hearing that everyone relaxes. They're like, oh, we didn't even imagine, like, it's night and day from what we imagined. We thought that would be like, horror every single day, every single moment. And, here everyone is living the normal life. But then the family who's behind, they might be like, are you sure you're telling me the truth? Like,
Yeah, I think that our situation's unique because I'm a journalist who's covered the war. And so, my family's been used to me actually being on the front lines of the war, which is very different from where we are
yeah, you're
in
like,
this.
oh, not frontline, it's boring. Whitney, why it's so boring today?
But my mother was telling me you can't stay one day after you get the passport. You need to leave. You need to leave. And we just used our own judgment. Sorry,
Okay,
mom, and stayed a little longer.
okay.
But
Yeah, there's a little bit of that of like why would you stay any longer than you have to? And it's like, well, it's really great here.
And
So
you
we
just explain your
want to
reasons. You're like, it's so much cheaper, and we have a night nurse. So it's like, Mom, you don't understand. Night nurse is everything.
yeah. Yeah, like I don't have to get in the car and drive, 30 minutes away to go to a Target to get what I need. Like
yeah.
I can walk 2 doors down
Yeah.
and it's there. So there are lots of reasons.
Are you talking to your pediatrician already? That's something that families already, because you have naturally questions, and I'm watching and I know you're getting some of your questions answered by the local pediatrician, neonatologist. But how does it work? With already, because obviously you're not in your country yet. So what is
We met with a pediatrician before we left
okay?
just to chat about, recommendations or differences between Ukraine and
Should
US
we get all of the vaccination,
vaccinations, and she
that kind of
Okay.
described it. Um, Here we were worried because he was a little stuffy, his nose was dry or something. And so we arranged to go back and visit with a pediatrician at the hospital.
Hmm.
And she gave him a quick checkup and said, yeah, you could put some drops in his nose, and that's about it. And just felt really good. We got an extra weighing, so we knew that he was back to birth weight. So
Okay.
that's a milestone also. So yeah, it
Yeah, so
was.
otherwise we haven't. We'll schedule an appointment with our pediatrician when we get home, but it has been nice to feel like there's a doctor here. Like
Yeah.
we're actually going to another country after this for various reasons, because there are people living in our house right now. And it's a little bit nerve-wracking because we don't have a doctor there, but we have a doctor here, like we feel like we have access to.
Yeah, so next week we'll be in another country and we'll be more cut off than we are here.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Yeah, but
Okay.
when we
I'm sure we can, it's funny, there's a lot of pediatricians around. There's in the apartment complex that we are living in, there's a pediatrician.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's on the ground floor. We haven't had to go in there, but if there was an emergency, we could do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, as a brand new parents, you definitely like you want to make sure you have supplies, you want to make sure you have support, and then if you have any questions, you're not, panicking, and it's really comforting to know that you have the support, even though you're far away from your home and from, regular operation and your doctor. So thank you for sharing that. A lot of love to you. So rest, yes, continue enjoying the last day or couple days in Ukraine, and please keep us updated on how it's going. Oh, and maybe Whitney, before we disconnect, tell us a little bit because, like you said, you're going to do some write-up, but you're also working towards your movie. Just remind everyone when to expect and what the next steps are.
when to expect is very unknown, but yeah, so if you haven't been following along, I am making a documentary about our process. We actually started filming in 2021 when our doctor said, you need a surrogate. And we decided that we would need to do this in another country because we couldn't afford to do it in the US. And so we've been filming since then and have filmed all of the major moments throughout this whole process, including the birth. We had cameras there. It was actually kind of weird to have this like camera
We had a camera crew,
in
yeah,
our face,
right next to our face.
the baby. But all the major moments. So we're getting close to finishing filming. We're filming some of these last moments, and it's been incredible that our amazing surrogate mother, Maria, has been, or I shouldn't say her name, I guess, but
Well, there are many Marias. I'm Maria as well, so you're fine.
and she'll be in the film. She'll be like, her first name will be in the film. So, but yeah, that she is willing to be part of the film and to tell her story because that's so important that we hear what this process has been like for her. So really excited to have that out into the world probably sometime next year. It's the goal.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for everything. And thank you again for your trust. And over and over, I thank you for your persistence because if you did not continue, okay, your journey had turns and, back steps, and I don't even know what it was, but only thanks to you. Okay. Thanks to
Oh, no,
you.
thanks to all of you guys.
You guys have been terrific.
Team effort. But again, if you would have stopped the moment you encountered the first no, this precious baby would not have been here. So it's huge victory on your part. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll do it again, hopefully, maybe one more time.
All right.